Welcome back to the Weather Watch for the Great North American Eclipse of 2024 for Thursday, April 4th. This is your host, Dr. Scott Dennstaedt, founder of the EZWxBrief Progressive Web App. Okay, folks, be doing this today and tomorrow. It'll be the last day for this particular program. Hope you've found it to be useful in your planning for this very interesting event. What we see here is the probability of precipitation from the Weather Prediction Center. Specifically shows you where there's some probability of having precipitation reaching the surface in a 12-hour period leading up to 0Z or 8 p.m. Eastern time. So that's the 12 hours prior. So that includes all the way from 8 a.m. all the way to 8 p.m. And so that does show that for the most part, there's a frontal system that's, there's area of low pressure up here and a frontal system that's kind of draped through that same region. So the possibility of precipitation, a lot of this in Texas and Arkansas and such is probably going to be mainly in the later afternoon. Some possibility of some storms. So I wouldn't necessarily take that, but ultimately, since we're in and around this area, there's going to be a fair amount of cloud cover throughout that region. So let's take a look at one of the forecasts I've been pulling up a couple of times, and that is, oops, see if I can get to it. There it is. So this is the National Blend of Miles, specifically looking at sky coverage. You can see that we have the eclipse path that's shown on here, and for the most part, down here in Uvalde, in that region, not looking good, 71%. You go up to more towards Austin and Waco, nearly 70% cloud coverage, 56% in the Dallas area. You go up towards Little Rock, talking about 57%, near Cape Girardeau and Carbondale, Illinois, looking at about 34%, 37% in Indianapolis, in Columbus, up near Dayton, 49%, 45% up near Cleveland. We go up towards Erie and Buffalo, we're talking about 50-some percent. And we're dealing with 38% towards closer to Watertown, up in 26. Looks like for the most part, right now, those that are planning to be up in the Northeast, up in towards New Brunswick and Canada, have a better opportunity, maybe a better opportunity here from parts of Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, down to southern Missouri and northern Arkansas. The least possibility may be around the Buffalo, Erie region. And then down here in Texas doesn't look very promising at this point in time. But still a lot can change. This is Thursday. We still have all the way till Monday. A lot of possibilities here. We'll know a little bit more closer to tomorrow. Hopefully it'll give us a better understanding. But let's take a look at what's been happening in terms of the model forecast so you can get a better understanding and gauge the elements that are in play here. And so we have that high pressure area that's been pretty much forecast right at the surface, right along the Carolina coastline. That hasn't changed much overall. The low pressure that's going through an occlusion process has been dancing around all up in the upper Midwest and northern plains over the last several days of runs of the model. And that frontal system that we saw coming down through here is expected to be a stationary front eventually by the time we get to the eclipse day. And it's going to hang around some possibility of moisture. But the nice thing about this, I think, is a lot of the low-level moisture, especially up near Dallas, maybe Waco, has depleted a bit. We'll get into that in a second. What I worry about for this region, and also up here in the Buffalo area, is what you're seeing here is a simulated infrared satellite depiction. So this is showing where generally the high clouds are going to be, and we see kind of a flow that's coming out from the Pacific up through Mexico and into the southern Mississippi Valley. And that's really what I worry about, because a lot of this cloud cover here is probably going to be very high cloud cover. Now, if it turns out that's all it is, you might still get a good indication and see the eclipse through some thin clouds. That may not be as big of a deal. Certainly lower clouds with high clouds are going to be problematic. But in this particular case, some of these are going to be on the higher side. Same with, I think, what's going to happen up here in New York and parts of the Northeast, where we're going to see that, again, high cloud cover that's going to impact that region. Overall, the rest of the area through this area seems to be pretty good. Not much of any way of any high clouds or even significant low clouds in this area, but there still could be, because again, this is an area that has a fair amount of moisture to work with because of the return flow that's happening out of this high. I mean, on the back side of this high here, still a fair amount of moisture, especially along that frontal boundary there. The question will be is, what is the timing of some of that precipitation, some of the convection thunderstorms that are expected to develop there in that area. Will be interesting to see over the next couple of days how that all transpires. But same, let's go back to here again, and let's go to the precipitation moisture, specifically looking at that 300 to 700 relative humidity area. This is, again, looking at 18Z, so right there around the 1 p.m. Central time frame, 2 p.m. Eastern, that we do see, again, the possibility of seeing some cloud coverage. Again, you don't want to see what's up here in terms of colors. That's a lot of relative humidity over a good swath of the atmosphere. This is thinning out in this area, but it's still not where you want it to be, which is the brownish colors. We don't see a lot of brown colors except really up here in the Northeast, where that tends to be, in this particular situation, tends to be the best choice. There still is a lot of this brownish color in this region. So again, that's where we're dealing with a 30, 40, 50% coverage in this area rather than 100% coverage in terms of clouds. So there is some possibility of some favorable conditions in that region due to that. And if we were to look at the other aspects of this, specifically looking at the precipitable water amounts, this gives us more of a column kind of a approach. So we're looking at a column of air and trying to look at how much moisture is in that column, and certainly you want to stay out of the yellows and higher colors, so you don't see much of that there. But she's still seeing a fair amount of this moisture here as that high that's over here, kind of bringing that moisture up through that region, and that's all traveling up into parts of the lower Mississippi Valley and into the southern part of the Midwest. So again, we're looking at the possibility of seeing still a fair amount of cloud coverage in that region, but I think most of the lowest clouds are going to probably be on the southern side of this, hopefully up here near Dallas, up toward Waco and into Little Rock. Some of that lower cloud cover will go away. And the way I can look at this is if we, hopefully this is working now, if I just pick a spot here, pull up a forecast sounding, which let me put in, let's go down to Uvalde, K-U-V-A, to see what's happening down there. And what you're going to notice is this is valid again at 18Z, and you definitely see that there's a possibility of seeing in this area the temperature and dew point are coming together there as well as up here. I don't really care for the way the GFS does a lot of its upper level saturation, but for the most part it does show some high clouds and even the possibility of some thin low clouds in that area. If we were to go up to, let's go up to Georgetown, GTU, which is near Austin, Texas. Let me put a K in front of that. Same kind of thing. Still got some low cloud cover there and some high cloud cover going on up there above 18,000 feet. Let's go to now a little bit higher or northern up to Waco. What you're going to see is that lower cloud cover tends to start to dissipate as you go further north. So if you have that option of going further north in the Texas area, that's going to be, although still some high cloud cover showing up there. And I don't think it's going to be that deep in that particular case. The GFS model just doesn't project that well in that area. But if we go to DFW and see, you're going to see again very dry conditions up there near Dallas. So this is a good sign if you're planning to go up to that region. Not going to see much in the way of cloud coverage in the lower part of the atmosphere, but still a thinner cloud coverage at the top. if we go further along and see what's happening here, let's say in Little Rock, again, very similar kind of thing we saw in Dallas, except for the fact that we do have a lot of moisture near the surface. So Little Rock having a little bit more lower level moisture, thinner at the upper levels, which is good to see from that standpoint. If we go up a little bit further north, let's go up to Cape Girardeau, KCGI. See what's happening up there. Very similar to Little Rock, some low level moisture and a thin upper level moisture there going on. Indianapolis, there's a little bit of a chance of some probably very thin stratocumulus type of deck, maybe near Indianapolis at 4 or 5,000 feet. Not too much in the way of any other moisture aloft there, so that's good from that standpoint. If we go to KDAY, look at Dayton, see what's happening there. Again, possibility of seeing some low clouds. It could be very, very thin cloud coverage at Dayton at the very lowest, but you might have that broken sky cover. So if you can find a lake or river, try to work your way in there if you're dealing with a broken sky at the lower levels. Look at Erie. Erie may be problematic because of the fact that you are pretty close to that lake where there's a lot of moisture, plus the possibility of seeing more of a thicker deck, at least at the lower levels here, somewhere between 5 and maybe, let's say, 10,000 feet in that area, looking at it like that. If we have go up to Watertown, New York, see what's happening there. This is actually looking pretty good at the lower levels, not too much in the temperature dew point spread being fair apart. Possibly, again, some high level, really thin high level clouds there. If we go up to BTV, up in Burlington, Vermont, that looks really really nice. Not much in the way of high level clouds, and low level clouds seem to be very minimal chance of that. If we go up to PQI, which is up in Maine, see what's happening there. This is more or less what you want to see. Not much of a chance of low-level clouds, and high-level clouds are very, very thin possibility there. So overall, this really gives you a way to drill down and see where the possible moisture is located. Again, I think the biggest threats are going to be down here in Texas, all the way up to possibly central part of Arkansas. In that area, certainly the Northeast tends to be looking very, very nice from that standpoint. And in the center part of the country could be on the marginal edge, just depending on how much heating of the day kicks in. Low-level clouds could form in some areas where you get some broken cloud coverage at the lower levels. So it will just be a matter of, unfortunately, just can't say this is a no-brainer and it's going to be clear skies in those areas. This is what we're going to be dealt with here. So I will be back again tomorrow to look at this one more time. And again, hopefully this is helpful. So we'll see you again tomorrow.